Hello and welcome to the Augmentoolkit Quickstart. I'm Evan Armstrong, the creator of Augmentoolkit. Augmentoolkit is where you go to make domain-specific data for training LLMs or generative AI. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this Quickstart. We're going to be making some training data from a Wikipedia article on medical history and the Ethereum white paper. And we're going to be doing this from absolute scratch, like literally from cloning the repo, so that you can see how everything is done. So, to get us started off, I am going to clone the repo. So, in normal circumstances, you do this: git clone, go to ep/armstrong/augmentoolkit, click the code button here, copy, git clone this. If you're new to command line, I recommend you follow along with the commands in the README. It may be more up to date than the stuff in this video. This is just for the visual learners out there. In my case, though, this is how you'd usually get it. I have not released Augmentoolkit 3.0 as of the time of recording, so I'm going to have to go to the private development repository. But the only difference is the URL. So, git clone, copy that. Now we go into the project, like change directly into the project, and we need to make a virtual environment and install Augmentoolkit's dependencies, and then get ourselves an API key, because we're using an API, because APIs are faster, and this is the quick start. Get ourselves an API key, and then run Augmentoolkit. Nothing too fancy, just a bit of installation and waiting. So, first thing we need is a virtual environment. I use Conda for my virtual environments. You might use something else. Conda create name Augmentoolkit env. This is what name have I not used yet? Use some random number. Oh, I made a mistake. You need to specify the Python version. I think 3.11 is the best option for Augmentoolkit. 3.10, 3.9, they may work as well. I don't test with those, so your mileage may vary. And so we're going to create this environment with Python 3.11, and this will take a second. Once this is done, we will then install some dependencies, which is, again, nothing too fancy. It's just pip install minus our requirements.txt. I need to activate my virtual environment. Good thing that we make all the mistakes in this quick start so that you do not need to make them yourself. Or at least so that you can solve them after making them. Conda activate, and what did I name my environment? I named it this. Okay, there we go. And now pip install will work. While this is going, I'll show you how to get to the AI side of this setup. So, Augmentoolkit uses AI to turn raw text documents into training data of some kind. There are a variety of different Augmentoolkit pipelines. As of the time of this video's creation, there are 3. For the pipeline that we're using today, the original pipeline, we need documents with some factual information in them. So the medical, like Wikipedia article, and Ethereum white paper, these both have factual information in them. To turn raw documents into conversations, we need to use generative AI, so we need to have an API provider. I like to use Together AI. So go over here, get an account. Not going to show how to get an account. That's A, subject to change, and B, it's pretty simple. The one thing, so once you have your account, go settings, API keys, and copy that. And we'll be using this in a second. One thing I will note is that if you're just like new to Together, then you'll probably have a free account, and free accounts are very rate limited, so you'll want to either get a paid account or do something I'll show you in a second once we actually add this API key. Also, if you don't want to use Together AI for some reason, there are alternatives like Fireworks AI or Hyperbolic. These all offer open source AI models, which I prefer to use because they tend to be cheaper and more reliable. at least in pipeline type settings. Chat is a bit different, but that's still pretty good. So we want to next open up Augmentoolkit in our text editor. For me, that is VS Code. So I'm going to open this with code dot. We now see all our project files and folders here. We are using the original Augmentoolkit pipeline, so we go to, like, all pipelines are in their own folder. So we go original and config.yaml, and we want to add our API key. That is not the right thing. I think that we're, yeah. Want to add our API key. There we go. We've added our API key. And the thing I was mentioning earlier, if you're using a free account and you don't want to get hit by severe rate limits, you will want to go down to System, Concurrency Limit, and reduce that to something very low, like 5 or even 1. Concurrency limit is how many requests are sent to your API provider simultaneously at most. So reducing that helps prevent rate limiting. With this, we are ready to run Augmentoolkit, and this is pretty easy to do. So let's do Python run augmentoolkit.py. Let's go make this bigger so you can see that's Python run augmentoolkit.py and enter. This will take a moment to actually start chugging along, but once it does actually start the process, it will be very, very fast. Augmentoolkit with an API is, yeah, quick and cost efficient. And this is the Quickstart, so while you can use like local models running on your local computer, for the sake of speed, we're using an API that points to the cloud. This will take a minute to actually start going. I'm still working on narrowing down why startup times have been getting longer over time. I think it's particularly bad the first time. I think it gets better in following times, probably due to PyCache. There is a decent amount of code in Augmentoolkit, so that's probably part of it. Just wait like a minute, it will start, and once it starts, well, yeah, here we go, it started. The first thing Augmentoolkit does, and you can see it's already generating pretty fast, already like 50% done the first phase. The first thing Augmentoolkit does is it splits the input text into chunks, and then checks if these chunks are like purely metadata, like tables of contents, copyright notices, etc. The documents that you upload, like this or this, you just drag your text documents into a folder, and then that's how you add your own text documents. You don't need to clean them up at all. So you see there's a ton of HTML and such in here. That's pretty ugly and not at all ideal, but it still works with Augmentoolkit. We're already a decent amount through the question generation and validation step. There's a lot going on here, and the detailed overview is a separate video. This is the Quickstart, so I'll probably cut it here and get back to you in like a minute or two once this finishes running. What it's doing right now is it's taken 150 chunks of text from the documents we uploaded and made 636 questions from them, and now it's checking them to make certain that none of these questions include hallucinations. Then it will do some fixing up, editing of the questions, and then it will make the multi-turn conversational data from it. So cut here, and I'll see you when the data is finished making. Augmentoolkit is finished, and we're going to look at in the output folder, the actual final outputs that you would use for training. These are simplified data, no rag, and then there are some additional things you can use, like this dataset, and this dataset if you want to bulk things up a bit, but the main output is simplified data, no rag.jsonl. Here you can see the outputs that we have turned raw text into multi-turn conversational data between a human and an AI that contains facts facts from that raw text, and is fully validated to make sure that there are no hallucinations. If we train an AI model on this data that we got, and there's a decent amount of it, if we train an AI on that, that AI will learn to talk about the subjects we have that are covered in the raw text we fed the original, the subjects in these raw documents. So yeah, that's a great pipeline for creating domain experts. And that's how you get Augmentoolkit running from absolutely nothing. We covered like cloning, installing depths, like dependencies, the APIs and rate limits and how to avoid that, and what the outputs look like at the end. That is all for this tutorial video on Augmentoolkit. I hope that you found it informative. Please start the project on GitHub if you like what's being done here and want to stay up to date as updates keep getting pushed. Otherwise, if you have any further questions, you can check the README, the other videos, or create an issue. Anyway, that is all for this time. I hope to see you using the project, and yeah, that's it. Peace.